Every wine lover has heard the story. Carménère was a forgotten grape from Bordeaux. It disappeared from France after phylloxera, but it was rediscovered in Chile more than a century later. It's a beautiful story. But there's one question almost nobody asks. If Carmenère is such an extraordinary grape, why didn't the French simply replant it? After all, when phylloxera destroyed Europe's vineyards, growers had to replant everything. They had a choice. They chose Cabernet Sauvignon, they chose Malbec, they chose Merlot, they chose Cabernet Franc. But they didn't choose Carmenère. Why? Rather than repeating what modern books say, I wanted to see what people actually wrote when Carmenère was still growing throughout Bordeaux. So, I started reading books written before phylloxera. André Julien in 1816, Paguier in 1828, Charles Cox in 1846, Comte Audard, Victor Ravindou, Jules Goujon. These men were not historians. They actually saw these vineyards. Here's what surprised me. None of them describe Carmenère as a poor variety. Quite the opposite. Audard praises its color, its aroma, and clearly distinguishes it from Cabernet. Ravindou says it contributes bouquet to the finest Bordeaux wines. Charles Cox includes it among the noble grapes of the Medoc. These aren't descriptions of a failed variety. Then we reach Jules Goujon. His tone is different. He still recognizes Carmenère, but another subject keeps appearing. Productivity, reliability, cropping every year. In other words, economics. Today, we understand something that 19th century viticulturists simply couldn't. Carmenère is one of the most demanding grape varieties during flowering. Successful fruit set depends on an extraordinary combination of factors: temperature, vine balance, carbohydrate reserves, and micronutrients like boron and zinc that are crucial for pollen tube development. None of this was known in 1850. What growers saw was simply this: one variety produced a crop every year, the other one didn't. Which would you replant? We often hear that phylloxera killed Carmenère. I wonder whether that's the whole story. By the time phylloxera reached Bordeaux, growers already knew Carmenère was difficult. Phylloxera didn't create that problem. It forced growers to make a decision. If you were going to replant an entire vineyard, would you choose the vine that cropped irregularly or the one that always helped paying the bills? And this is where the story becomes fascinating. Chile wasn't simply lucky enough to keep Carmenère. Chile may have offered the variety exactly what Bordeaux could not: a long, extended growing season, dry springs, low disease pressure, among other things. Conditions that reduced the very problems that frustrated Bordeaux growers. But I believe there's another piece of the puzzle. When you walk through the best Carmenère vineyards in Chile, one characteristic appears again and again, and that's clay. Not just any soil. Clay-rich soils with excellent water holding capacity. Here's an intriguing thought. If the finest Carmenère consistently grows on heavier clay soils, that raises an interesting possibility. Perhaps part of the broader Bordeaux region, like Entre-deux-Mers or other high clay containing soils, were more suited for Carmenère than either Cabernet or Merlot. That's not a conclusion. It's just a possibility. It's a question that needs further research. I don't think the French abandoned Carménère because it produced bad wines. In fact, the people who actually grew it often praised the wine it produced. I think they abandoned it because agriculture was changing. The vineyard became a business. Yields matter, production mattered, reliability mattered, and phylloxera only forced them to make a decision. A century and a half later, we know things they couldn't possibly have known. We understand flowering physiology, micronutrient nutrition, soil chemistry, canopy management, and perhaps if Bordeaux had possessed today's knowledge, Carménère might never have disappeared. History doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it waits quietly in old books like these. And every once in a while, those books ask us to rethink everything we thought we knew. If you got to the end, thank you very much for watching.